The latest in a wave of elite kickboxers to successfully transition to mixed martial arts has arrived, and like Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira, this French striking sensation is an undeniable force, showcasing a distinctive talent for violence like very few others. Cédric Doumbé was as accomplished a kickboxer as you could ever get, and after signing a multi-fight deal with the PFL, the question now is just how far can he go? Did Dana White and the UFC mess this one up? We certainly think they did. Now, without further ado, let's take a deep dive into Cédric Doumbé, the new killer of the PFL.
I'm the best, so may the best win.
Born in Cameroon, Doumbé moved to France with his widowed mother and sister at the age of 9, bringing him into contact with kickboxing as a teen. Like so many others who walked this path, Doumbé's initial plan to pursue a degree was abandoned midway through when he realized just how much potential he had in fighting. In many ways, Cédric in combat sports were a match made in heaven, but the early signs of greatness weren't exactly there. Doumbé's early run on the regional scene in France was good, but not outstanding. His 8 wins, 3 losses, and a draw were all part of the learning curve, but his improvements along the way were clear. One of those 3 defeats came at the hands of Yohan Congolo, an early nemesis who managed to beat Doumbé on the cards. So when a short-notice opportunity to step up and rematch Congolo on the Glory stage came 9 months later, Cédric jumped on this chance to avenge that defeat. But even still, his dream of a fairy tale start in the big leagues did not come to pass. Congolo once again won, moving to 2-0 over Doumbé and sending his rival back to the lower leagues for another 9 months. But when Doumbé put together a 5-1 record over the time that followed, Glory had no choice but to give this prospect another opportunity. This time, Cédric would not be denied. Coming into his second bout, he was 23 years old, fiercely athletic, powerful, and growing in his application of high-level technique. In his path was another rival, who would go on to share a larger piece of history with Doumbé down the line than either of them could have realized. Myrtle Groenhart would share the ring with Cédric 3 times before all was said and done. But on the first occasion, Doumbé would come out on top, opening his Glory account with a win by way of unanimous decision. From there, Doumbé started to work up some hype, going 9-0 with 4 knockouts, including a win over his fellow MMA transitioner and CKB product, Brad Riddell. So with this interest of the kickboxing world peaked, Doumbé got his first title shot, taking on the legend Nicky Holzken, a man who was unbeaten in 4 years and had just scored back-to-back wins over Doumbé's rival Groenhart and Congolo. But this was to be Doumbé's night, as his unorthodox style of striking proved to stifle the rhythm of his opponent. The technique was there, sure, but there was also a theatrical edge to him that was coming to the fore. Doumbé had progressed from a middling contender to a bona fide showman. In there with a far more experienced champion, he put on a show, even taunting Nicky at times. Doumbé had him on volume, and he even knocked his opponent to the mat with a deft spinning back kick in the final round. And although it wasn't ruled as an official knockdown, that was quite the mental image. Eventually, he took home a decision victory, and the championship belt along with it. And so began a run for Doumbé that included a decision victory over his old rival Yohan Congolo, as well as a rematch win over Nicky Holzken. But the Doumbé title reign would get an unforecasted interruption in the form of a loss to his old rival, Myrtle Groenhart. This would be followed by a second defeat to Alim Nabiev, setting Cédric's progress back a few steps. But this 2018 loss would be the final defeat of Doumbé's combat sports career up to this point. From here, we saw a different animal emerge. Doumbé, who had always been a solid puncher, started to really tie it together in the ring. Once 2019 hit, Cédric finished his next 4 opponents, winning back his title with a powerhouse performance against Harut Grigorian, before then defending it twice before knocking out the man who had robbed him of his belt, Myrtle Groenhart, to close out their trilogy. And it was a brutal knockout moment. But little did we know, it would be the final time we saw Cédric Doumbé in a kickboxing ring. If you're going to bow out, you might as well do so in style. And that was one hell of a finish to leave on. In January of 2021, Cédric Doumbé retired from kickboxing as champion of the Glory's welterweight division, leaving with a staggering record of 75 wins, 7 losses, and 1 draw. Mixed martial arts was calling this French sensation, and the success of Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira paved the way for Doumbé to step into this new sport. Rounding out his game with wrestling, BJJ, and all the fine details of footwork and distance management needed to succeed in MMA wasn't going to be easy. But the early signs for Doumbé have been good. In fact, they've been nothing short of outstanding. His debut showcased a fighter still very clearly in development, which of course is very understandable. But in this bout, we saw just how Doumbé's power carries over to 4-ounce gloves. The first round knockout put Cédric in the win column. But trust us, the bigger moments would be to come. His follow-up win over Title Chai gave us 2 full rounds of action to watch Doumbé before the referee called it off for a doctor stoppage. The first majorly encouraging finish from Doumbé in mixed martial arts came in fight number 3, when he blasted through Florent Bourillon with a powerful set of punches that led to a TKO stoppage by ground and pound. He hadn't yet been tested by a powerful wrestler, but these early fights are for acclimatization, and the more stern challenges will come in the future. Fight 4 was his best performance so far, and that scintillating left hook that dropped Pavel Klimas looked like it nearly took its target off his feet. 4-ounce gloves and Cédric Doumbé truly do appear to be getting along together very well. And this display of raw power would make it very clear that this Frenchman was looking set to be an even greater finisher in his new sport than he ever was in kickboxing. This was a viral moment, and as you might expect, it garnered Doumbé some real attention. In the wake of this win, the UFC finally came knocking on his door. But to say that the subsequent saga was a disaster would be putting it lightly. Doumbé was initially signed to the promotion and set to compete at UFC Paris, a huge event for the growth of French MMA. Keep in mind the sport was only legalized in France quite recently. But a mix-up with his pre-fight medical and his paperwork, as well as the intervention of the French Athletic Commission, due to his 4-fight experience compared to his opponent Darian Weeks, led to the UFC dropping him entirely. To put it simply, it was a total mess that should have been handled a lot better. Now deprived of the biggest opportunity a mixed martial artist can attain, Doumbé was left in a tough spot. With the door closed on the world's biggest stage, at least for now, what was a fighter like Doumbé to do? His kickboxing career had seen him grow accustomed to the brightest possible lights. For now, though, he would need to regroup. So when Don Davis and the PFL swooped in, Cédric was happy to sign on the dotted line. His promotional debut was, well, you just gotta watch it. It was easily the most badass walkout of any promotional debut in MMA history. Everything from the build-up to the walkout, to entering the octagon and knocking out his opponent in only 9 seconds.
Pass stance for Zibo. Is that low stance from Cédric? Oh! Are you kidding me? What? Knockout for Doumbé!
That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you make a promotional debut. Unsurprisingly, this win made Cédric a real rising star in his new sport. With a first win under his belt in the PFL, and with a seemingly endless supply of potential, only time will tell just how badly the UFC messed up by not doubling down on their efforts to sign Doumbé. Will his time in the PFL bring him championship glory? Will it even bring about a fight with Jake Paul that Doumbé seems to be interested in? Good luck surviving that one, Jake. Well, either way, you can expect fireworks as this combat sports great continues to adjust his MMA game, refining his striking technique to better suit the more multifaceted demands of the cage. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single upload. We'll see you guys in the next one.